Hello everyone, Beppo here. Today I can finally bring my review of Sunbreak, the new expansion of Rise that will be released tomorrow for Nintendo Switch and Steam. A huge thanks to Capcom for giving me this early access code for Steam and allowing me to try out Sunbreak before the global release. This review will be spoiler free, so I will avoid any plot spoilers of the story and won't talk about monsters that haven't been announced yet, including any specific detail related to the endgame. This is gonna be a little talk about my experience with this game, my impressions and my thoughts. So I would start from my Master Rank progressions experience. As I expected, Master Rank in solo is probably gonna be a decent challenge for an average player. As a longsword user, I definitely felt the difference between high rank and Master Rank monsters. Yeah, I did play more than half of Master Rank with only one armor piece from Master Rank and the rest high rank, and I only used full Master Rank armor pieces at the very end, but I basically got forced to use defense push 7 if I didn't want to get one shot by Master Rank monsters. As you can imagine already, monsters deal big damage, and in some cases 2 hits are enough to make you faint with full Master Rank armor. On top of that, monsters also have more tracking than Rise, or at least this is my impression during my hunts, resulting in a quite hard experience when it comes to dodge these attacks. They are also faster than what they used to be in high rank. For example, Rajang, he got a decent upgrade from his high rank version and I like it. In general, Rise monsters got new moves and combos in Master Rank, raising the bar even more overall. On one hand, I was delighted that such difficulty was added in Sunbreak. I've been hearing many people in the community stating that Rise was too easy, and that was partially true, but after fully completing the Master Rank and reaching the endgame, I think most of the people will agree with me that Capcom managed to create a good challenge for their players this time around, at least during your Master Rank progression. Because we all know that once you reach the very endgame, you can start farming stronger gear and be able to complete the old quests more easily. On the other hand, I'm not a big fan of heavy tracking usage. I've experienced monsters that can track you so hard that it felt almost unnatural in some rare circumstances. This is part of the difficulty, if this is what you wanna call it, in Master Rank. Aside from that, I don't really have other complaints about this. For the most part, monsters in Master Rank are fun to fight. They punish you when you make mistakes and give you openings for attacks when you learn their patterns. And I specifically said for the most part because there is Volvidon, and you guys know that I will never like to fight this monster with longsword. Regarding the new Sunbreak monsters, I'm really happy having back Daimyo Hermitaur and Shogun Centaur from the 2nd generation. You guys know I'm a huge fan of the 2nd gen, and the nostalgia that I felt when encountering these monsters in Sunbreak after I fought them last time in Freedom Unite was indescribable. Of course, their moveset changed, but there are still those iconic old moves I'm sure you guys will remember if you have fought these monsters in the past already. Same applies to Seragios and Goromagala from the 4th gen and Astalos from Monster Hunter Generations. But the biggest surprise was Espinas. We seriously got a monster from Monster Hunter Frontier? Last time this happened was on Monster Hunter 2nd G, or in the West known as Freedom Unite, with Lavaziot and Hypnocatrice in 2008. 14 years later, we get another monster from Frontier. 14 years, guys. This was super unexpected. I didn't have the pleasure to fight Espinas in Monster Hunter Frontier, but for all the Frontier players out there who will play Sunbreak, I'm sure they will get really excited to hunt him again. In Master Rank, you also have access to new interesting skills to try out, and a new feature that substitutes the ramp-up skills you could add to your weapons in Rise. Level 4 decorations return, allowing you to slot in even more skills than what we were used to in high rank. There is only one thing I don't understand. Why didn't we get a new upgrade for the Petalaces? As a guy who focuses a lot on the gameplay aspect of the game, I wanna talk about the Switch Skill Swap, the new mechanic introduced in Sunbreak. As some of you might have already experienced in the demo, the new combat system in Sunbreak is pretty varied with a lot of new Silkbind moves and switch skills. You now have access to a large amount of moves by swapping on the fly between the red and the blue switch skill scrolls. It took me a fair amount of time to actually get used to this new mechanic. You know, I play longsword and I completed all the quests using this weapon. At the beginning, I felt a bit overwhelmed by the amount of buttons I had to press in order to access and then perform these switch skills. More than once I forgot which scroll I was using and I ended up performing different actions from what I was expecting. At some point I found it so complicated that I even started to hunt without swapping, resulting in a simpler gameplay easier to get used to, but that didn't last long. Longsword and probably some other weapons as well need to have access to more switch skills if you really want to pull the best out of the weapon. I realized that the farther I went through the master rank, the more I needed more diversity to approach the harder monsters along the way. So this is a little tip I would give to you all. Try to get used to the switch skill swap mechanic as soon as possible, as it will come handy in different kinds of situations during your hunts. The most obvious example is swapping between Sakura and Helmbreaker, but also between Sacred Sheath and the Ice Spirit Slash, as you will see. I'm not gonna go full in depth about the new moves for Longsword or how to use them, I will talk about that in another video. In Sunbreak there is a new type of quest called Follower Collab Quest. In this single player only quest, you're gonna hunt with various characters called followers that appear in the story of both Camera Village and Elgato. Followers will help you out in different ways. They can use traps, ride monsters, KO the target monster, heal you and more. These follower collab quests come in two varieties: follower quests, in which a follower will hunt alongside you during a quest, and support surveys, where you can choose the follower to hunt with as well as his weapon. Completing this quest is recommended as you will unlock new gear, so make sure not to miss them out. The two new locales in Sunbreak are huge and you will definitely need some time to fully discover them. There are many hidden tracks underground and interesting paths that are waiting to be discovered in both the jungle and the citadel. Regarding the fighting areas, I feel like the new zones are flatter and larger compared to the majority of fighting areas in Rise locales, allowing you to fight freely without any serious issues. The jungle is in my opinion the best map to fight monsters in, as there are no ledges and the ground level is pretty regular and flat in the fighting areas. In the citadel you can hunt monsters inside the ruins of a cathedral, such a lovely environment to fight Malzeno and other monsters. Both of these maps however share the same negative side of Rise locales when it comes to the fight: the small monsters. Seriously, the small monsters are so annoying and they always find a way to attack and bother you during a large monster fight, worsening your gameplay experience. Not only can they interfere with the fight by attacking you, but they can also draw the attention of the large monster who will suddenly start attacking them instead of focusing on the hunter. The new outpost in Master Rank is in my opinion an improved version of Kamura. In this new land built close to the sea, all the facilities are accessible without the need of changing areas. You can pick all the quests by talking to Chiche in the central plaza, you can eat at the tea shop, you can check and craft new gear at the smithy, you can manage your bodies by talking to Nagi, and you can buy stuff and melt talismans by talking to Oboro the merchant. Everything is pretty close to each other, and considering that you can also use the Warbug wherever you want in Elgato, this means you can access everything pretty much instantaneously. Really handy and comfy. And do we wanna talk about the BGM in Elgato? I could listen to this for hours. Capcom revisited the canteen system in Rise with new fresh ideas. In Master Rank you will unlock new Dango skills that will help you further in your Master Rank progression. On top of that, there is a whole new feature called Hopping Skewers that allows you to increase the level of the Dango skill to boost its effect. You lower your activation chance but increase the Dango skill level. Looks like a fair trade-off to me. I highly recommend trying this out and experimenting new combinations yourself. Let's now talk about the new features and improvements that were brought in Sunbreak. First of all, I have to deeply thank Capcom for adding this new feature. I'm talking about the player hit effects option that you can now find in your menu in the game settings tab. This new option is such a blessing for me. I can finally see the monster while hitting him. You can choose between 3 different percentages of hit effects displayed. 100%, not recommended, 50%, I think this one is fine for most of the players, and 25%, the best solution for me. A second option below allows you to also choose the percentages of other players' hit effects displayed. The only critique I have regarding this new feature is that you can't choose which effect to reduce and which to keep at the same intensity. I would have loved to choose to keep more blood and element effect when I hit the monster and just reduce the spark effect and the critical effect. Well, I hope Capcom will consider improving this option in the future. The second change that I give a lot of importance from a gameplay point of view is of course the Wyvern riding. Now you can choose if you want to keep attacking the monster or just mount him. Specifically, you can choose between two options in the Controls tab. You can either attack the monster or press circle, basically what you did in Rise, or you can decide to mount the monster only if you sheath your weapon and press circle. This means that now you can keep attacking the monster during the Wyvern riding state. Of course, in this case the opening will be reduced depending on how much damage you will deal to prevent players from exploiting this too much. The third and new feature I love is the body recon. You unlock this new feature immediately at the very beginning. From the Mercenaries tab you will now have an additional option called Body Recon, where you can choose two locations where to send a Palico or a Palamute in any map. Once you are in that locale, you can open the map and fast travel to the Body Recon spot you designated. As a regular hunter, I'm happy I can finally reach a specific zone of the map that used to take quite a bit of time to reach, but as a speedrunner I'm so glad I can now reach the monster spawn much faster and start hunting him so soon. The fourth change I like quite a bit is the new wall running option in the Controls tab. In Sunbreak you can start wall running by just approaching any wall without using wirebugs. This change led to some issues during the fight, as the hunter could now start wall running in the middle of the fight just because he was close to a wall or a vertical obstacle. To prevent this to happen, you can simply turn off this automatic wall running while in combat, while keeping it if you are just moving around the map without fighting. Really well done. And lastly, something regarding our bodies. You can now fully customize both the support moves and the body skills of your Palico or Palamute. No need to look for the perfect body with the perfect skills and the perfect support moves anymore. Now you can simply change them as you want. I'm a big fan of this new feature. As I said at the beginning, I played Sunbreak on Steam on my PC. As you know, the Steam version has higher resolution, higher frame rate and higher quality textures and additional features and options compared to the Switch version, due to a better hardware. This was already the case in Rise, and it's the same in Sunbreak. New features for capturing pictures were added in Sunbreak, as the depth of field, the focus, blur range and filters. But of course, the big star of the show are the high resolution textures that makes the big difference. However, there are some textures in the game that are blurry and low quality compared to the rest. For example, the glowing effect on your arm when you're using skills like peak performance, and also the elements of the HUD clearly have a lower resolution compared to the rest of the textures in the game. These graphical aspects left me with a bit of disappointment sadly, hoping they will improve it sooner or later. Overall, I consider Sunbreak a great expansion, adding a good amount of content and improving many gameplay aspects of Rise. If you enjoyed playing Rise, you should definitely try Sunbreak, but even if you haven't played Rise yet, I'd suggest you give it a try. With the addition of the Master Rank, I consider Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak a well done Monster Hunter game. I just wanted to add that I voluntarily avoided talking about the endgame content, but I guess I can tell you guys it's something new that Capcom prepared and in my opinion works overall better than the Apex monsters that we got in Rise. I'm looking forward to the title updates that Capcom recently announced that will bring us new content, new monsters and new stuff to try out. And with that being said, I wish you a good rest of your day. Bye!